Anything you want to say in your defense? Oh, wait, any cooked up lies in your defense? Kim Namjoon, the cold and stern prosecutor, asked the suspect of the murder of the richest businessman's son, Joshua. Lee Wyan, the suspected murderer, looked up, hearing him. All the while, when the prosecutor and the defense attorney were debating, one in her defense and one in offense, she was looking down. She was controlling her tears, but his words made her lose her control as a long, thick tear trickled down her eyes. Namjoon's fierce gaze locked with Wyan's glossy eyes, and for a moment his eyes softened. Maybe not his brain, but his heart recognized the innocence hidden behind her hazel orbs. However, the softness vanished as soon as it appeared when Mr. Han, the defense attorney, stepped forward and spoke in her favor. Prosecutor Kim, she is not the murderer. She is accused for a crime she never committed. You can't use the stone with her. He asserted out and stood face to face with Namjoon. I think you shouldn't teach me how to talk to a criminal. I know my job very well. Better if you do yours rightfully instead of defending a criminal. Once again, his prosecutor brain took over his heart as he darted a stern gaze towards Wyan. You are crossing your limits, Mr. Kim. There are no evidences which prove that she is the one who unalived Joshua, he said, his tone though calm but authoritative. He was experienced in handling these type of cases. His wrinkled skin and grey hair said it all. Oh, so you are saying that someone killed Joshua and hauled his dead body all the way to her apartment? For your kind information, her apartment is perfectly secured with a password that only she knows. Prosecutor Kim retorted back in his infamous, rough, husky voice. There are no proper evidences in proving she is the culprit, and it's 21st century. Anyone can easily break into a house. Maybe there's the other side of the story to which we all are unknown. Someone is trying to frame my client. She is innocent. He took one step closer to Namjoon, their eyes locked in a silent standoff. As Namjoon opened his mouth to throw another sarcastic reply at Mr. Han, the judge banged gavel on the mallet twice. Namjoon and Mr. Han both stepped away from each other and stood at a distance. They sighed in unison as the realization of their amateurish antics dawned upon them. This is not a boxing ring. I hope you both are all aware of this. Prosecutor Kim and Attorney Han. This is not a school debate. This is a serious case of a murder. As the law officials, it is our responsibility that a criminal should be punished, and at the same time, we should make sure any innocent individual should not get sacrificed in the battle of right and wrong. The judge uttered, switching his gaze between Namjoon and Mr. Han. They both nodded in agreement. The judge intertwined his hands and placed it on his desk. He sighed and glanced at Van, whose head was ducked down. She had been silent during the whole 1 hour hearing session. The judge redirected his gaze at Namjoon. Prosecutor Kim, do you have any solid proof against Lee Wyan? Any eyewitness? Any footage? Or anything? The judge lamented. Namjoon paused and sighed before shaking his head in negation. No, Your Highness. His reply was curt and short. The judge nodded and shifted his gaze towards Mr. Han. Same question for you, Mr. Han. Do you have any evidences that proves Levine is an innocent, apart from facts and theories? Mr. Han looked down and shook his head. As both sides lack the required evidences, the next hearing is postponed to next month. I am giving 1 month to search for the evidences and study the case more deeply. Until the day of next hearing, Levine will be in police custody. Neither she is a criminal nor she is innocent till the final decision of court. The judge announced her decision. Namjoon and Mr. Han nodded, satisfied by the decree. We had a lot of pressure from the media, and public is also going out of control. Accelerate the pace of investigation. And as I said earlier, any innocent shouldn't be punished. The court is adjourned. The judge hammered the glaive against the mallet and rose from his chair. The people present in the courtroom stood up and bowed as the judge exited the courtroom. After his departure, the audiences also started leaving one by one. The cops came to Wine and put handcuffs on her wrist before dragging her out of there. Namjoon sighed and craned his neck. He walked over to his desk and collected his stuff. I must say, Mr. Kim, you are passionate about your job. He stepped towards Namjoon and spoke with a genuine smile on his lips. Thank you, Mr. Han. You are experienced in this field, and hearing this from you means a lot. He reciprocated the compliment with a small twitch of his lips, his cold demeanor unwavering. Let's meet in second trial. He extended his hand for a handshake, and Namjoon reciprocated with a formal smile. I promise the next will be the last trial, the day of final decision. He stated with utter confidence. Mr. Han nodded with a smile and exited the courtroom. Namjoon looked at his irritating bag and shook his head. He resumed collecting his stuff and left after a few seconds. As Namjoon stepped out of the courtroom, his assistant, Hoshi, jumped in front of him. Sir, what happened? What was the judge's decision? That girl is the criminal? But she looks innocent. He blabbered a series of questions, following Namjoon, who strode in the direction of exit. The hearing is postponed to next month. He gave a curt reply as he was used to his assistant's habit of being overexcited. Hoshi made an O face and walked faster to match Namjoon's pace. Namjoon walked towards his car with Hoshi hot on his tail. He halted, hearing loud noises at a small distance. He looked towards the commotion to find Vine squeezed between a group of reporters. The cops were using their whole strength in breaking through the crowd. Amidst the chaos, his eyes fixated on Vine, who was crying silently. Her head was ducked down to avoid the flashes of cameras. Sir, where are we going? Hoshi asked, diverting Namjoon's attention from Vine to himself. Namjoon peered at him with his usual cold gaze before redirecting it towards Vine, who was somehow hauled to the police van. We are heading to our office and schedule a meeting with the murder suspects in the evening. I need to dig deeper to know about the case and culprit. He ordered and got inside the car, followed by Hoshi. Namjoon placed his briefcase on the center table and settled down on one chair, waiting for the cops to bring wine. Few minutes later, the door creaked open, revealing wine. He observed her as she silently moved towards the table and occupied a chair across him. Without wasting any moment, let's come straight to the point. Why and how did you kill Joshua? He asked in his usual stern voice. A frown formed on his forehead when she stayed silent, her eyes stuck at her lap as if it was the most interesting thing to stare at. Look, Levine, I'm an impatient person, so it's better if you open your mouth and speak. Don't test my patience. He reclined back on his chair, waiting for her reply, but she kept mum, not uttering a single word. Something clicked in his mind as he leaned on the table. I heard you and Joshua had a history together. You were in a relationship, and the reason for your breakup was his infidelity. Is that true? You were frustrated because he cheated, so you decided to take revenge and kill him, right? This is the truth, Levi. Am I right? He reiterated the same thing in an attempt to get reaction out of her. And he proved right when Wine yelled and threw his briefcase across the room. She stood up with a jerk. Her chair fell down due to the force. I didn't. I didn't kill anyone. I'm tired of saying it again and again. I am not the murderer. I didn't kill anyone. Why wouldn't anyone believe me? I'm innocent. She yanked at her hair as tears of frustration rolled down her eyes. She shouted like crazy, but Namjoon kept sitting there, unaffected by her outburst. I didn't kill anyone. I swear I didn't. Please trust me. Her voice dropped octaves lower as she crouched down on the ground and cried, holding her head. She wept hysterically, pulling her hair. Namjoon kept staring at her broken state. After a few minutes, when he felt like she wouldn't stop crying anytime soon, he stood up from his chair and walked towards her. Crouching down to her level, he stared at her side profile. Tell me everything from the beginning. If you are really innocent, I promise I'll do everything to resolve all the allegations on you. But if you are the culprit, I swear nobody can save you from getting punished. Vine stopped crying and looked at him. A flicker of hope shone in her eyes. Really? Do you trust me? She asked, with a hope that maybe, just maybe, there was one person who trusted her. However, her hope shattered next instant when he shook his head. I don't trust anyone. I trust evidences. Your confession will probably give a new direction in this case. Maybe it can help us find the real culprit if you are innocent. Tell me everything from the beginning. He uttered and walked back to the table before settling down on his previous position. Vine wiped her face and stood up. Sauntering towards the table, she settled down across him. Joshua and I were never in a relationship. I don't know who spread this rumor. About 10 months ago, we met at a park. I saved his pet dog from crushing under a truck, and that's how we interacted for the first time. After that day, we used to meet occasionally in the same park. We became good friends over time. He used to tell me about his interest in being a painter. He was really artistic. But about 3 months ago, he suddenly stopped showing up. I was worried for days until I read an article in the newspaper. He took over his father's position in the company. I understood the reason behind his absence and didn't bother to contact him either. I thought maybe he would be busy with work and all. The last time we met was 3 months ago. I don't know how did his dead body was found in my apartment. I wasn't home that time. Wait, you said you weren't home that time. Where was you? I was hungry and planned to make pasta, but then I realized there was no pasta left in my house. So I went to buy some pasta. Where and what time? I don't remember the exact time, but it was probably very late, past midnight. I went to the convenience store near my apartment building. When I returned, he was lying dead in my living room. Before I could process anything, the cops barged inside and arrested me. She replied, the 2 days before events replayed in her head. Namjoon nodded, mentally noting every small and big detail. Had Joshua ever been to your house? Did he know the password? He lamented, rewinding every aspect of the crime in his mind. Yes, he knew the password. In fact, sometimes he used to sneak in to surprise me after I returned from my college. He used to cook lunch for us. You two seem very close. Are you sure it was only friendship, nothing more? Namjoon asked and reclined back on his chair. Wine sighed, hearing him. Joshua was a loner. He had no friends. When we became friends, he wanted to keep it forever. He was like a little kid who made a new friend and wanted to share every small or big detail with his friend. He was lonely, and he used to come at my house seeking for comfort. Our bond was pure. When I said it was friendship only. Van explained, and Namjoon nodded. Is there anyone you know who can do this? An enemy, or some business rival, or someone you may know? He would have told you something, or you found something fishy. Vine pondered over his words. She forced her brain to remember any suspicious thing related to Joshua, but there was nothing. All she could remember was them goofing around. I don't know. He used to talk about his passion in painting. Apart from that, nothing else. In fact, I got to know about his family background through the newspaper article. Okay, that's it for now. I'll come again if I need to ask something. He stood up and picked his briefcase, which was lying at one corner of the room. He walked towards the door but halted, hearing her. Prosecutor came. Nobody believed me, not even my parents. I have lost everything, but I don't want to die with the tag of a murderer. Please find the real culprit soon, she pleaded. Tears again pooled in her eyes as she remembered how her own people turned their back towards her when she needed them the most. Don't worry, I am a man of my words. I will keep my promise of punishing the culprit, whoever he or she is, he replied and disappeared from the room. Sir, how did the investigation go? Did she tell you something? Sir, I know you don't believe in such things, but I have a gut feeling that she is innocent. An overexcited Hoshi followed Namjoon out of the police headquarters. Meanwhile, Namjoon was contemplating his earlier action. Never had he ever been so calm while investigating a suspected criminal. He remembered breaking a man's arm because he wasn't ready to open his mouth. Had he accepted her as innocent? Was she really innocent or faking it for sympathy? Above all, the main questions were, how did Joshua's dead body reach Van's apartment? Did he come there willingly then got murdered? Or someone killed him and held him in her house? And the bigger question was, who was the anonymous caller who informed cops about it? Hoshi, the cops are going to Van's apartment tomorrow for investigation. I will accompany them. Until I return, collect all the CCTV footage of murder night near Van's apartment from 8 in the evening to 8 in the morning. Namjoon instructed, getting a nod from Hoshi. Sir, where are we going now? We are heading to meet Joshua's father. He replied and made his way towards his car with Hoshi hot on his tail. How are you, Mr. Lim? Namjoon asked Joshua's father, who shook his head and wiped his tears. After losing my one and only son, how would I be? I am hollow from inside. I understand your situation, Mr. Lim, but I am here to ask you some questions. Mr. Lim nodded, a silent gesture for him to continue. Is there someone who can kill Joshua? Like some rival or something? That girl who is behind the bars now? She killed my son. I want you to prove her guilty so that she can get the deserving punishment. She is the culprit. He greeted out with raised filled eyes. Namjoon and Hoshi shared a look before looking back at the old man. My son, my Joshua, he murmured, and tears again started cascading down his eyes like waterfall. His broken state insinuated his grief of losing his only child. Please, please get justice for my son. He joined his hands and cried. I will do my best, Mr. Lim. The real culprit will be punished. Your son will get justice. Namjoon stated. His gaze shifted to the photo frame placed on the side table. It was a picture of Joshua and Mr. Lim playing golf together. We will take our leave now, Namjoon said and rose from the couch. Hoshi followed his motions and walked behind him towards the door. During the way out, Namjoon noticed some paintings hanging on the wall. At one corner of the paintings, Joshua's signature resided, pointing those were his creations. Joshua was fond of painting, I guess. He turned to Mr. Lim. The old man looked at him and nodded. Yes, painting was his hobby, but he was more into business. I see. He murmured and walked towards the front door. Hoshi followed with confusion, marring his face as to why his superior suddenly wanted to know about Joshua's hobby. There were a lot of mysteries yet to be unfolded, many truths hidden under the lies. The case was not how it was portrayed by the mass media. There was a different aspect of the story which everyone was unaware of. There was a possibility that the culprit is actually the one behind the bars, or the said culprit is roaming in the public totally unfazed after committing a crime.